We are back with Steve Gill. Thanks for joining us this morning, Republican political strategist, talking about the president's visit. 737-7587 if you want to join in the conversation, or you can find us here on Facebook at newschannel5.com. And let's go next to Ethel. Ethel, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Hi, Ethel. What's on your mind?
I was just listening to this the man just before me, and he was talking about he went to a Trump rally, and he was calling people hooligans and telling them they were nasty looking, and talking about what the bikers for Trump would do to them. See, it's such stuff as that is the reason why there's so much diversity in this world today. And to me, that is a person that I think that he is better than anybody else. And see, it don't make no sense to add fuel to an already burning flame.
Yeah.
Because there's so much hatred in this world now. And talk like that is just filling people's minds with just stuff that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, some of the rhetoric on both sides can get kind of heated. And
However, at that rally, I mean, he was accurately depicting it. You had about 25 or 30 folks that had literally masks on, that had F-word Trump T-shirts. They were dressed in black. It's the same people you've seen that are these anarchists that are breaking windows, creating fires, that we've seen doing violence around the country. And there were about 15 or 20 of them that showed up at the rally on Legislative Plaza a few weeks ago. And then they tried to come around past the bikers for Trump to get to the stage to try and get past all the state troopers, and the bikers and the troopers stopped them. Had the troopers not been there, it would have been the protesters who would have been in trouble, because there were about 3,000 people there. The troopers were actually protecting them. But he accurately stated they had their black face masks on. They had T-shirts that had F Trump. They were shouting profanities at people who were sitting there out there on their own with kids there.
That is just flat wrong. And I mean, I'm all for protests, but when it gets ugly,
and that's
like
not
that,
helping the Democratic Party.
No, but it goes both sides. And I'm just talking about political discourse in general, and the stuff like like, for instance, when Meryl Streep, said what she said about Donald Trump, his reaction sometimes, presidents get attacked all the time, okay? And you acknowledge, he may be getting hammered a lot here, but a lot of presidents have. But it always, when I see a response, even if I agreed with him and he says, overrated actress Meryl Streep, that's like a child firing back at someone. You may not like what she said, maybe she was being childish, saying, I want my president not to, first of all, calling Meryl Streep overrated is just wrong. You may not like her movies, but you know as well as I do, she's the greatest actress of our generation. For him to fire back in that way, I want my president to be better than that. Do you know what I'm saying? And I wonder if that pushes the discourse a little bit more when if fires something like that in a tweet. Why does the president do that?
Well, she may not be an overrated actress, but she's an overrated political strategist.
Oh, sure. And you can go after her in other ways, but calling her overrated is kind of like, well, I'm just going to throw back some insult that obviously is nonsensical, as opposed to saying, look, that Meryl Streep's opinion and she's wrong. And that's fine if he says that, but saying, oh, this overrated act, it sounds like a child responding. It really does, Steve.
I would agree with that. And again, I think you're starting to see him become, more presidential.
Yes, I agree.
Responses.
I think he's learning again, is what we've been saying.
But I also think that what you're seeing with some of the hysterical, temper tantrums, the anti-Trump temper tantrums from the media, from the Hollywood celebrities, they're not helping themselves, because the same things they're throwing at Trump as president were the things they were throwing at him that didn't stop him from becoming president. And it is not working with the American people. And again, as you start seeing jobs get created in Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan, the Democrats are going to lose their firewall, their blue wall in those states where they've had these union blue-collar workers they could count on. Well, when they're seeing jobs created that the Democrats haven't created, when they're seeing the efforts to block coal, for example, in West Virginia, Donald Trump carried what used to be a blue state of West Virginia by 40 points.
And he's doing what he can to deliver on his promises. I'll say that for him.
And look here in Tennessee, we have counties that just 10 years ago were Democrat counties that he carried 85-15 over Hillary Clinton. So the temper tantrums, the screaming, the yelling, the F words that you're getting from these Democrat activists are not going to help the Democratic Party rebuild.
No, the proof's going to be what the Republicans do. Now, I got to ask you, one of the topics of conversation, I'm probably spending a lot of time on it today, will be health care. And we've seen the estimates, and some people may want to poo-poo it, but it's like, when these estimates come out from the Office of Budget and Management, Congressional Budget Office, I mean, the Republicans saying they may have to tweak this a little bit, but if those projections are accurate, that's a problem for any Republican that pushes it. What do you think is going to happen with this? I mean, 14 million, 17 million all of a sudden losing health insurance if they make these changes? That would be a problem, would it not? Now, I don't know. Maybe you disagree with those numbers, but what do you think he's going to say about that?
I don't think the Congressional Budget Office agrees with their own numbers, because I think you said it right, if those numbers are correct. The same Congressional Budget Office that said Obamacare would give health care to 20 million people, and they missed that, it was about 8 or 9 million people, are now saying that 27 million or so are going to lose their health care. Well, they didn't even get health care under Obamacare, so their numbers simply don't add up. And the bottom line is people are seeing themselves priced out of the health insurance market, not the health care market. This is a health insurance problem, and that's where you've got to get down to what needs to be fixed. One of the things that Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn here in Tennessee has been pushing has been cross-border purchase of insurance. We get lower car insurance because I can buy from a lot of competitors to get my car insurance. We have these restrictions that limit health insurance on a state-by-state patchwork quilt basis. Let's open it up to more competition. Marsha Blackburn's been trying to carry that bill since 2009, and despite all the efforts of the Democrats to say they want to help health care, let's make it more competitive. Let's get the pricing more fair. And that was something that Donald Trump talked about on the campaign trail, and it's something that they ought to incorporate into whatever fix they're going to do in repealing and replacing Obamacare. So I think there's things they can do to make this bill better, to maybe bring Republicans and Democrats to support it.
You'd agree, though, they're going to have some kind of replacement.
Absolutely.
At least some kind of replacement. If they get rid of Obamacare, fair enough, that can certainly be improved upon, but they have to have something to replace it with, not just get rid of it and, I don't know.
One of the problems that you have is the Obamacare plan got rid of high deductible, low-cost health insurance. I mean, if you're a 23-year-old guy, you're not going to spend a lot on
you're healthy,
doctor bills.
That's right.
So spending $600 a month on health insurance when you're not going to spend $600 a year, you're not going to get coverage.
Right.
So how do we get it back to where I can buy $75 worth of insurance to cover me if I have a horrific accident, which is what we all had when we were young.
That's exactly what we
had.
had.
Because that's why I'll buy it.
Right.
But I'm not going to buy it if it's going to cost me more each month. Then I'm going to spend all year. And that's where it got out of balance, and that's how you've got to get that kind of balance back.
I agree. That's true. All right, let's go to Brian. Brian, good morning.
Hey, remember 8 months ago when I told you Trump would be president, but he'd be the last president of the United States? And you went, what?
What do you mean? Yeah, well, I remember you saying he'd be president, but I don't remember you saying he'd be the last one. What did you mean by that?
President, he'd be the last, and then I said he'd be the last president of the United States. And then you said, what do you mean, dictator, this, whatever? I said, no. The breakup of the United States, similar to Europe. Now everybody's going to jump on me and go, oh, bad Brian, bad Brian. But I've predicted other things before, and I don't see why that should be such a bad thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's talking about the country. The country certainly is split to some degree right now, and you've got it's never been more heated than this.
Well, it's not that split when you look at the maps of kind of the counties that Trump carried versus Hillary. Hillary's got a little bit of an enclave up in the New York Northeast area. She's got kind of part of the coast of California.
Real populated areas.
And then flyover country was pretty united. So I'm not sure if they're talking about maybe 8 or 10 counties in California going away. Wait till they see what we're going to charge them for oil.
Let's go to Grady. Grady, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi, Grady.
Now, Steve, I know you're in a position where you're going to try to cover for the man, but, you know, we got jobs coming back to the coal miners in West Virginia, but yet black lung disease is no longer covered under what we've got. We're not going to cut Medicaid, but we've cut $880 million from it. Explain that and how that's not going to hurt elderly people or people that were on the TIV care.
Well, if we don't have black lung being covered, I think you'd need to blame President Obama and the Democrats who've been controlling the healthcare apparatus certainly the last 8 years. The bottom line is that bringing jobs back to the steel industry, bringing jobs back into the coal industry, bringing it back into the industry sector, into the automotive sector, you're already seeing jobs coming back to this country. And when we start seeing tax cuts and a renewed economic revitalization in this country, rather than sort of a punitive effort with regulations and everything else, you're going to see jobs created. It's what's worked in the past, and we're going to start to see that on an even bigger scale. The stock market has been climbing like crazy because there's a renewed enthusiasm and a belief that business will get better, which is when people start hiring others. In terms of the Medicaid cuts, again, No old person in this country has been hurt by the repeal and replacement of Obamacare because it hasn't happened. The people that are being hurt right now are the people that are being hurt by Obamacare by 300, 400% premium increases, by the inability to buy health care or to afford the drugs that come to it. So there's got to be a lot of changes made in the healthcare system, not just in the healthcare insurance system, but in how we deliver healthcare, how do we deliver the pharmaceutical industry products that are in an affordable way. There's no reason that a drug here in the United States ought to cost 4 or 5 times what it costs in Canada, other than we've got regulation, we've got taxes, and we've got lawyers that sue 30 years after a drug is introduced that add to the cost that they've got to build into the drugs. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed in healthcare, but I would remind you, Donald Trump hasn't put anything in place yet because the Democrats won't let a vote come up.
You know, you talk about the coal miners, and I certainly sympathize with them in terms of their employment and putting food on the table for them. But isn't it a little weird, Steve? You and I are kind of progressive guys. We're still talking about coal as an energy source in 2000. I mean, come on. In terms of clean energy, and I know we've got, and the head of the EPA now, in terms of his desire to protect the environment, I got some real questions about that. I seriously do. Now, the guy denies global warming, all right? So, you know, I'm sorry, it's happening. So, don't you worry at all about any of that stuff?
Well, when you look
you have kids,
well, again,
and you
when
can
you
have
look at the
grandkids.
global warming numbers, there are statistical indications that in the ebb and flow of warming and climate warming and cooling, that we go into up and down categories.
I've always
the question
heard the
is, are
cycle thing. We're setting records never seen in the history of humankind, and that's the thing. I'm not.
But you're also
I don't want
seeing,
to debate you on this. I'm not a scientist. You're not.
So,
but I'm just wondering. We're still talking about coal as an energy source, and I want to have those guys work. If we can find a way to get them to work, but I mean, can't we do better than coal as an energy source? Jeez,
well, you've got, again, China with 1 billion people that is using inordinate amounts of it we can ship to them. You also have technology.
I don't want to live in China with that environment.
You also have it making the ability to use technology to use clean
find a way to
coal
keep it clean.
It's
got to be clean.
The same way that we've got
but
the
then
oil
that's
industry.
regulation, and we're deregulating. So we're going to have these coal factories that aren't regulated anymore. They're just dumping it in the air. That's what worries me.
If the technology makes it possible to use it in an effective economic way,
that's the key.
Then the free market system works.
I do worry about deregs, because I don't know. Unlike you, I don't believe that the business is always going to do what's best for the general population.
Nor will government.
They do what's best. Well, the government doesn't always do. They do what's best, right, for their bottom line, their stockholders, their employees, and that's understandable. That's the American way. But sometimes there needs to be some guidelines for them to follow, or they'll run rampant.
But when you've had the guidelines run so out of muck that, for example, we can't build new oil refineries in this country that would be cleaner, would convert the oil into gasoline and other products cleaner and faster and more efficiently. We can't do that because you can't build new energy producers in this country. The same thing's true with coal. If we will reduce the regulations and be common sense in how we apply this stuff, we can create economic incentives that keep us safe, keep the air clean, and allow us to use energy resources.
And that's exactly what you want. All right, let's go to Martin. Martin, good morning. Hi, Martin. I guess he was fine at 4. Let's go to Ted. Ted, good morning, Ted.
Yeah, this is Ted.
Hey, Ted, go ahead.
I got a couple of things to say. First thing, global warming is a hoax. Okay, that was created by Al Gore so he could put money in his pocket. Second thing is, anybody remember the America when people dealt with their health issues themselves? Anybody remember the real America?
What do you mean, dealt with it themselves?
They paid for it themselves. My daddy never asked the American government to buy health insurance for him or us. He did it himself.
Well, I think part of the problem that we've gotten to is that we've gotten into a system where we depend on the health insurance system for our health care, which has removed the customer, has removed the patient. You and I go to the doctor today with a sprained ankle, and they're going to do an MRI versus an X-ray because they got to worry about getting sued if the X-ray misses that little crack. And they don't ask me, do you want an X-ray or do you want an MRI? The X-ray is $89, the MRI is $500. I'm not paying for it, so I don't care. If I go into an auto shop, I buy what's effective.
And you better call me if you find out it's going to be less. It's funny.
The patient isn't involved in that purchasing process. That's what's helped put our whole process out of skew.
Take a break on that note. More of your phone calls, a bunch coming in, and more comments as well. You can join us here at 737-7587 or on Facebook at newschannel5.com as our coverage of the president's visit. Steve Gill talking about it. Maybe you can share some more insight about what else is going to happen today. I want to know where he's stopping for dinner. Okay, I'll find out what you got. All right, we'll be right back with more right after this.